Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Modern Woodcarver Podcast. I'm your host, Michael. Today is a big day because I'm excited to have our very first ever guest on the show. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better person to have that honor. I've known today's guest for several years now, not just as a fellow carver, but as someone who has genuinely become a good friend. He's someone I've watched grow, evolve, and continuously push himself. You probably know him online as Block and Knife, and I'm excited to welcome Cody Bonham to the show. Cody is not only an incredibly talented carver, but someone I truly admire for his consistency, his creativity, and his ability to keep carving new and exciting things. In a craft where it's easy to repeat what works, Cody continues to experiment, refine his style, and challenge himself. And that's something I really respect. His work has this clean, confident simplicity to it, pieces that feel intentional, recognizable, and full of personality without ever feeling overworked. In today's conversation, we're going to talk about how his carving journey began, how he developed his signature style, staying consistent as a modern maker, balancing creativity with running a business, what he's currently working on, and what's next, and really just have an honest conversation between two friends who both care deeply about carving and the carving community. Cody, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. I feel weird when people talk about me, so
You're not alone. Everyone I've kind of met with, anytime I say something nice about them, they just immediately say, I've never heard anything like that before. And
yeah.
it's
Well,
kind of
thank
sad.
you.
I mean, I feel like a lot of us never really get those accolades
Yeah. And you might get
when
compliments online, but like hearing it in person is different. So,
Yeah, I think it's a lot different when it's a comment and, it's like, "Oh, good job," it seems kind of, like a filler type comment.
well, I agree. I think that I would consider you one of my closest friends now, and we've never even met in person. And it was wood
Yeah,
carving that brought us together. I mean, we just, basically became followed each other on Instagram and then kind of started talking, and now we talk all the time about even personal matters, family matters, things that I don't necessarily talk to some other people that are in my life personally. So I think that's one or really cool thing about wood carving is you just get exposed to a lot of other people and like-minded people, and you can build friendships out of it. So I really value our friendship that we've made over the years, and it's cool to finally somewhat meet you in person, but not exactly
yeah,
because we're halfway across the country, so someday it'll happen.
yeah, definitely, and I again, it goes both ways. I really appreciate the friendship that we've built over the years and talking to you about personal issues and family issues and, you know, carving stuff and business sides of things. It's just been really nice to have someone with similar interest and,
Yeah,
to kind of talk to. Yeah. So
yeah,
it really has been nice getting to know you over these several years. And I'm glad we were able to do this.
yeah,
It's
me
kind of
too.
fun.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
I have friends, a few close friends that I still hang out with a lot, but they're not into wood carving, so it's nice to have someone to
Yeah.
talk to about that because I feel like sometimes they don't really care because it's just not their thing, so
Yeah. Same here. Some of my friends, they think it's cool, but they don't care about the tools or anything
yeah,
like that. It's just, yeah, yeah. No, it's nice to have friends with similar interests for sure.
yeah,
And you've been absolutely incredible in terms of help and guidance for me. Because you have had an Etsy shop for quite a while, and I recently, within the last year or so, started up my Etsy and really gave it the attention it deserved. And you were absolutely helpful with little tips and tricks and methods of shipping and all types of things. And I'm really appreciative of that, even though I don't sell a ton on Etsy, but
yeah.
um,
Yeah, Etsy's been good to me. I started it, I would say probably 2021, maybe even 2020, like late 2020. And that's when I started carving, was the summer of 2020. And so I started in July, and then by the time Christmas came, I was posting pictures online, and I had some people tell me, "You should sell your ornaments. You should sell your Santa and your snowman ornaments." And my wife had had an Etsy at that point for years, so she kind of helped me set it up initially. But I set it up probably around November, and I didn't make my first sale till February on Etsy. So that was several months of it just sitting there. And then I would say I probably went like another year without selling anything till the following Christmas. And that's when it kind of started picking up. And then every year since then it's grown. Um, Last year I did close to $10,000 in sales on Etsy alone.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But I kind of killed myself in the process because I work a full-time job as a teacher. And so trying to keep up that pace that I was trying to hit last year, I just don't think it's sustainable.
I can't imagine the amount of time and effort that goes into all those carvings. I mean, I think I sold probably last year maybe 46 to 50 items on Etsy, and
Yeah.
that's the most I've ever done. And that was so intense. Like it was a lot. And I know you easily tripled the amount of sales in terms of items that I did. I mean, you had like a couple hundred items for sale.
Yeah, probably. I don't know exactly the item total. I think I'm up to like close to 800 total over the last 6 years. So, but I would say the majority of those came in the last 2 years. But
Yeah.
like I said,
That's wild to think about.
yeah, I don't think that pace is sustainable unless I was somehow able to do this full time rather than my teaching job. But at this point, that's not really attainable. But I just try to now, like, really just put my best work on Etsy, like the pieces I spent a lot of time on, and they might have a higher dollar amount, and then the smaller carvings that are I'm okay selling for cheaper, I kind of reserve those for vendor shows, which I might do one or two of those a year, towards Christmas time.
Yeah, the vendor shows, I'm getting burnt out doing those because I've done them for 10 years or so now. And I don't just sell carvings, I sell cutting boards and boxes and other woodworking items. And I'm just last year for me was just it was a tough year to be doing the vendor markets. Just my heart's not in it anymore. I think I'll stick to just the one or two that I know are good, but they're exhausting and pretty tiring. And it takes all year to prepare for them. I need to
Yeah.
build up inventory just for a couple of days. But they're definitely a good market when it works, but it comes with its drawbacks.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a lot. Just packing up all the stuff and pricing and inventory and hauling it into the venue and setting everything up. Like it's a long, exhausting day. And I've had ones where I did all that and then I don't make an entire sale the whole day. So that's really
Yeah, that's
frustrating. But
horrible.
then you'll have ones where you sell out everything. And so it's just really kind of hit or
Yeah.
miss. I think the one benefit of doing the in-person shows is just getting that immediate feedback from people and also just meeting people in your community. Because I mean, I don't live in a huge town, but I feel like not a lot of people know that I'm in the town or what I do, and there's not a lot of other wood carvers, so when they do see my stuff, they're like, "Oh, that's really cool. I've never seen that before," because it's a lot different than what you see at vendor shows typically, so
Yeah. That's good. You have like a little niche pocket that you don't have to compete with other vendors.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice when people actually see your work in person rather than pictures because they can feel it and look at it and
Smell it. They always like
you
the smell.
smell it. Yeah. They like the smell of wood. And then it is nice because sometimes I've picked up ideas from people. They're like, oh, maybe you should try doing something like this. And I've taken some of those pretty serious and I've worked on my own projects based on people's ideas and recommendations.
Yeah.
Um, so it is nice. But it's also very disheartening too, because if you go to a vendor show and you don't sell anything, you start to question your skill, your talent, your art. You feel pretty. discouraged. Doesn't
Yeah,
happen
and then
often, I would say, at least for me, but I've seen it happen to other vendors, and it just you could see the soul crushing reality when they don't sell something. They
yeah,
just feel
and
bad about themselves.
I've also had people complain about my prices, and so that's pretty
Oh, that's a
disheartening.
given.
They look at it, they're like, "You want $50 for that?" And they just don't understand because they go to other vendors that might be doing, like, something that's an ornament that's laser engraved on a piece of wood, and they can get away with selling that for less than $10, and then they see my piece of wood that they don't understand it took me a week to carve and a day to paint, and so you're also competing with 3D printed little plastic trinkets and things like that, and so
Yeah.
unless they really know the work that went into it, sometimes it's hard. I feel like the majority of the people respect it and are willing to pay what it's worth.
Yeah, definitely. And I have that as well. People constantly say it's too expensive, or I get people that say the same in the opposite too. They'll say it's too cheap and you should be charging a lot more.
Yeah.
So I get both sides of the coin. And
Yep.
so you said you started carving in 2020. Uh, what inspired you to pick up the knife and start carving?
Well, it was the year of COVID and everything shut down, and I was still teaching, but we weren't in person. We were teaching remotely, and I was only required to be on like a couple hours a day as a teacher. And so I had a lot of extra free time. And my wife has always had her custom seamstress business. And even though she was furloughed at the time from her job because of COVID, she was still staying really busy making stuff and selling stuff. And I just felt like I needed to do something to contribute also, or at least just not like sit and watch TV all day, like do something productive. So I wanted to start making something and I kind of experimented around. Like I started getting back into sketching because I grew up drawing a lot and I've always loved art, but I kind of just stopped as an adult. But that was the perfect time to try to get interested in something again. And I remembered when I was a kid, my grandpa bought me a knife, a wood carving knife, and I used to carve little things out of sticks in the backyard. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll try that again. And so I bought like a cheap beaver craft kit on Amazon and then just started watching YouTube videos. And then it really just took off from there. My main influence was Doug Linker on YouTube. He's the one I started watching. I think his 5 Minute Wizard and then really just took off from there. Actually, the first thing I carved was a mushroom, and I have it right here if you wanna
Hmm.
see. So this is my first
Yeah,
first ever wood carving, and I always
that's
tell
really
people
cool.
yeah, I always tell people still today, like, if you wanna learn carving, I the first thing I suggest is a mushroom because you're working on the 3 main cuts, the push cut, the stop cut, and then the pairing cut if you want to do that on top, so
Yeah. Yeah, when I was doing those teaching workshops in my area, that was the go-to project was a mushroom.
yeah.
And for that reason, it taught basic shapes, it taught each type of cut, and it was something that was small enough and tangible enough that people could actually finish within a session.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I think it's a great beginner project. What I find amazing is that Doug Linker is so incredible. I mean, his he's the go-to godfather of whittling or wood carving. I mean,
yeah,
he's probably single-handedly responsible for creating thousands of carvers, and his tutorials are just amazing.
yeah, I
Um,
agree.
I'm a big fan. Yeah. And is your grandfather still around, or
Yeah, he is.
so? What does he think of all your carving since he gave you that knife when you were a kid?
I don't know that we've ever even talked about that. Maybe I have, about how he gave me that knife. I don't even know if he would remember it, but, he is still with us, he's a lot older now, and he doesn't really do as much as he used to, but, he was always a really handy guy. He built cars, like, he would buy kits and build cars, and he built airplanes, and so he always had this huge shop with every tool you could imagine, and every once in a while he would let me kind of work in the garage with him and do little projects. So I think I definitely got a lot of inspiration from him. Um, and then I also had a family friend um, who we're still friends. His name is Ken, and he was actually my dad's boss. And I remember going to his house a few times and going down into his basement, and his whole basement was full of wood carvings, and he had a shop. And so that was, I don't know, I always just really liked looking at his carvings and touching them. And then I don't think I talked to him for years. And then when I started posting my carvings online, he reached back out to me. And then now I've been over to his house a few times, and he kind of taught me how to use patterns and bandsaws and a lot of hands-on work that was really valuable, because at that time I didn't even have a bandsaw. So when he taught me how to use one of those properly and how to cut out patterns, that was kind of like took my carvings to the next level. So I think that was really valuable, having someone in my personal life that I could go get some hands-on experience with.
Yeah, that's amazing, amazing thing to have, someone in person to show you things and teach you and guide you. Unfortunately, I never really had that in terms of like whittling, wood carving. I have in the woodworking world because I used to work professionally as a
Mhm.
woodworker. And there was carvers there, but they were mallet and chisel carvers mostly.
Yeah.
They carved a lot of ornate like frame details and things like that. So it wasn't really like character carvings or anything. But I still learned a lot from them. And I can only imagine if I had someone in my life to show me the more hands-on wood carving stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really nice that you have that family friend and people in your life to teach you and show you stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we're really fortunate with the internet too. I mean, you can basically get on YouTube and learn how to do anything at a, pretty high
Yeah,
level. So, I mean, learning in person, getting that hands-on work, I think is valuable in itself. But I think you can get pretty good at wood carving just from watching YouTube videos and following advice. I mean, there's so many good
definitely.
tutorials, and any question you have, there's already answers for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're just willing to dedicate the time and effort to finding the right videos, and you can really, really learn a lot. I'm really surprised the people I've been talking to. All of you guys have been carving for 3 years or 5 years or 6 years, and everyone's skill is it's incredible from where they started to where they are now in such a short time.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's due to all of the YouTube and online presence
Yeah,
there is
and I
in the
think it's
carving world.
also when you see other people's work, I think it pushes you. Like, you see people make
Yeah,
these huge jumps in their progress, and you're like, "Man, I can do that too." It's kinda like back in the
yeah,
day, I think they didn't think it was possible to break the 4-minute mile or something. I think it was the 4-minute mile, and then as soon as one person broke it, everyone broke it. I think it's kind of one of those things, like, we just
yeah.
humans have this tendency to push each other.
I think it's yeah, like a healthy competition type
Yeah,
thing. Like I've seen tons of your stuff that I've emulated, just like I'm sure you've emulated from other people and other people emulate from others. And the wood carving world is just kind of like that, where we all just rip off each other's ideas and wanting to try new things. And eventually, we all put our own spin on it. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I think it's a such a great community to be in, and everyone is always so willing to share their knowledge and their styles and techniques and everything. And I think because wood carving is a pretty lonely hobby. We all just kind of sit here in our shop or our house and we carve these little figures or characters or whatever we're working on, and we're just by ourselves and we don't have that interaction with people. And a lot of us don't have that carving friend in real life to bounce
mhm,
ideas off of. So we all just flock to the internet and talk amongst one another. And the carving community online, at least Instagram and Reddit, like you'll see the same names and the same faces, and everyone is pretty friendly with one another.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the wood carving community is extremely open and accepting to everyone and really helpful. Any question you might have, there's always someone willing to help, and you might get a variety of answers, but a lot of time there is no right answer. It's just what works for you. So you can try different
Yeah.
things and
Trial
just,
and error.
yep, a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. So initially, your main go-to of carvings were those little wooden ghosts,
Yeah.
which were a big part of your brand for a long time, many years. And the different colors, and I really like the galaxy looking ones where
Yeah.
they had the stars kind of painted on them. Yeah, and then you just kind of I don't know, maybe they ran their course, you got bored of them, or they stopped selling as much, and you made this complete shift and you started doing the more detailed Santas and like fairy houses and things like that, and you just kind of spiraled out of control with that.
The
Go ahead.
ghost was like the first thing that really took off for me when I started making the little wooden ghosts. And that was not my idea. That was something that I saw someone was making these tiny ghosts out of clay. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do
Hmm.
that out of wood. And so I started doing them. And that was when I really started getting a lot of attention on Instagram. Like my following took off a lot. And I sold a crazy amount of them. I did all different styles like pumpkin ghosts. I did candy corn ghosts, the galaxy ghosts, just a whole variety of them. And then I don't know. I don't know if they just because it stopped selling or if I just got tired of making them. Probably a little of both. But
Yeah.
and I kind of learned like just because something's selling doesn't mean you should keep making it because then it becomes more of like a chore than a hobby. Um, I want to make sure I'm making stuff that I want to make so I don't get burnt out on it. So I think that's important to remember. If you want to sell your work, like still make stuff that you enjoy making. Don't just make it because you know it's going to sell.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've talked about this with some others where when I do those craft shows, the main thing for me that is a guaranteed seller are cutting boards. And I've made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them over the years. And I absolutely hate making cutting boards at this point. They're not fun, they're boring. They don't give me any enjoyment making them. They feel like a chore, but I know that they sell. And that's what I'm trying to achieve is to make some money at these events.
Yeah.
But it completely sucked the life out of me making them. So I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
it's also nice to just kind of grow your skills. You keep doing the same thing. Yeah, you're going to get exceptionally good at that one thing, but you want to do other things and try new techniques and new styles.
Yeah. You always got to push yourself. And even now I struggle with like trying out new designs or if I get a custom order, that always makes me really nervous because I don't know, it's just the fear of failure, I guess. Like you don't want to work on a project and then you don't like the end result and then want to start over. That sucks. But that's
Yeah.
really how you keep improving is increasing the complexity of your carvings. Like you can't just keep doing what you're doing and expect to get better. And that's hard. That's still something I struggle with is going out of my comfort zone. But if you want to improve, that's the only way to do it. So,
Yeah, I think we all kind of struggle with that. We fall into that rhythm of just doing what we know and tend not to want to break out of that form, and you get stuck in the rut.
yeah.
What have you been working on lately?
As far as carvings, I am working on I have been working on an article for a magazine. I don't know exactly if I'm supposed to say that, so I won't name the magazine. But
Sure.
um, when it's official, I'll announce it on my social media. So that's been cool, like getting back into writing because I've been out of college now for 10 years and I haven't really sat down and wrote an essay or an article or anything like that in that amount of time. So that was interesting, and I actually forgot how much I enjoy writing. And so I've kind of transitioned that into writing kind of short articles for social media, but I'll break it up into like slides. just kind of as an educational thing. So if you look at my Instagram and Facebook, you'll see some of those. I just use like a solid wood background, but I did one on types of knives. And then yesterday I put out a video on the three main cuts that you learn in wood carving. I don't know, just kind of like going at an educational angle in a way, but in like Instagram format, because you'll see a lot of that on YouTube, but I don't think you see as much on Instagram. And so far, the posts are doing okay, like engagement wise, but I don't know. I feel like the right people that are interested will find it.
I've seen them on your Instagram. I think they're great, especially for the beginners, because you specifically target a lot of the beginners in them. And I agree. I haven't really seen much of that on Instagram. They're more in the video format of mistakes that are made or improve your technique, things like that. But I think it's a really cool idea. And I think it's cool that you found that passion for writing again. I look forward to whatever article it is that's coming out.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I really want to get more people into wood carving, and I'm working on possibly teaching some in-person classes around my area in Kansas, like Northeast Kansas. So I'm look for that in the future too. I have maybe like 3 locations that I'm going to be teaching at, but I need to get a good set of knives that would be enough to teach a class of maybe 6 or 8 people. So I think this is kind of
Yeah.
my way of prepping to teach in-person classes.
Nice. Yeah, I think that'll be cool. Getting a bunch of people into wood carving. I feel like you've kind of already done that online. I see a ton of people that are inspired by your work. Not necessarily that they're brand new carvers, but I've seen copycats of your work floating around.
Yeah, I always like to see those. I appreciate when people try to emulate my carvings, because that's how I started too, was just copying people, and then you eventually
Yeah.
gain your own style. So I don't think there's anything wrong
Yeah.
with trying to copy other people's work.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm really impressed with your work is the painting quality. You've kind of mastered the painting aspect of the
Yeah,
hobby, and I
I
hate
enjoy
painting.
I
Not my
actually
favorite.
enjoy the painting, so it's still evolving too, though. I mean, the way I painted a year ago is not how I paint now, especially like on my Santas. I'm always changing, maybe just changing the skin cone or adding it, or the skin tone, or adding in some shading or highlights. It's always, there's a million ways that you could paint one carving. So I think it's fun to
Yeah.
experiment around with.
I see that you also paint other carvers' work as well from time to
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I've, a couple other carvers in my area have commissioned me to paint their work because, and I didn't know this when I got into carving, but and maybe it was a thing back in the day more so, but a lot of carvers didn't paint their own wood carvings. They would hire people to do it. So they've reached out to
Yeah,
me,
because
and
painting is its own hobby.
yeah, it's a totally
Yeah.
different skill.
Yeah, it's definitely not my forte. I think I've gotten pretty okay at it, but I just don't enjoy painting them.
Yeah.
To me, that's not the fun part of the hobby. And I always end up with a huge bottleneck at the painting stage. And I have to force myself to sit down and set up the paint. I try to batch them out when I can. But definitely
Yeah.
not my favorite.
I mean, I think painting in batches is definitely the way to go too. I might wait till I have 8 carvings built up and then paint them all in one day. Sometimes you just have to wait till you're in the mood for it, or have that
Yeah.
chunk of time set aside. Because once you start painting, it's not like it's different than carving. Because once you start, you really got to finish, or you're going to have to, your paint will dry and then you have to clean off your paint tray and start over again. So it's not like carving where you can just put your knife down and stop. Like painting, you really have to have that time set aside. So it is a whole different animal.
Yeah. I agree with that. It gets messy and dirty, and I always end up knocking over the paint cup or there's
Yeah,
always some sort of dramaticness when I start to paint.
it happens. Yeah.
And
I mean, when I paint, I typically do it like first thing in the morning. So I'll have my coffee there with me. And there's been multiple times where I stick my paintbrush in my coffee thinking it's the water cup. So it happens.
yeah. I should try painting in the morning. I've only ever painted late at night when I'm tired and exhausted. So maybe that's it. I
That
should
could be.
probably switch up when I paint it. Yeah. I never really thought about it. Yeah. A lot of times I'll sit and paint the carvings with my daughter. She's 7 and she likes to paint. I give her all the rejected carvings that I didn't finish, and she'll
Yeah.
paint those with me, and I'll paint the ones that are worthy enough to go up on the Etsy shop or in the finished pile.
Yeah, my
And it's
son
some like a
enjoys
nice little bonding thing that we do together.
yeah, my son enjoys painting some carvings too. He's
Well,
10.
that's cool.
He's at a good age
Does
too.
he have an interest in carving?
He does maybe like once a month he'll sit down and carve with me. And he's done some little mushrooms and basic snowmen and stuff like that, but he doesn't have a super long attention span, so it's usually like short periods of time. Plus his hands just get tired, which is
Yeah,
understandable as a beginner, so yeah, I
yeah.
don't force anything on him or whenever he says, "Hey, I want to carve," we carve, but he's kind of at the age where video games are a lot more attractive than wood carvings.
Yeah, I can understand that. But hey, at least he still has that like an interest in it and something
Yeah,
you guys can do together. And if,
yeah,
I feel like maybe eventually when he gets older, it might be something that sticks,
I think it
which
will.
is kind of
Yeah.
cool.
He's really into
Yeah.
making stuff and art, and I think eventually he
Yeah.
might get into it a little bit more.
Well, I think what's cool is that not only it's just you and your family, it's your wife also who has a creative streak. I mean, you mentioned before she's a seamstress,
Yeah,
and I know she has her own business. And yeah, so I think it's cool that you have like an entire family that's kind of dedicated to making things and selling things.
yeah, our whole house is kind of set up for making stuff, so it's pretty cool
Yeah.
environment to be in.
Do you guys ever collaborate on anything? I mean, I know it's two wildly different subjects, but
Yeah, she makes a lot of Renaissance style costumes, like fairy dresses and fairy wings and things like that. And I've carved her some necklaces or some necklace pendants that have been incorporated into some of her work, like little ghosts or little mushrooms. But that's about it as far as collaborations, because they are both two totally different styles. But we've also talked about maybe vending together at the Kansas City Renaissance Festival someday, but we'd have to
yeah.
spend quite a bit of time building inventory, so it may or may not happen
Yeah.
someday.
Oh, I think that'll be really cool if it's something you guys can eventually get to.
I wanted to say, talking about the painting, well, a minute ago, Sarah Barklow, I think is her name, the clever carver online. I think she has
Yes.
the best paint tutorials. If you can find her videos, and I know she's making a lot more content, but her techniques are what I use now, especially on like Santas and things like that. I think she's like the go-to. So I haven't put out a lot of content on how I paint, but
Yeah.
basically if you watch her, that's what I do. So she does really good at
Yeah, I'll
like
have to check out her videos.
yeah, and she
Yeah.
kind of
I'm
mixes
familiar with her Instagram.
yeah, she mixes a lot of tones. It's not just like one color. Like she'll use multiple colors and layers, and even after you think she's done, then she will put some like really watered down brown and hit the like on this Santa, like she'll hit the brown right in these creases right here, and it just adds like another layer of shading and depth to the carving. I don't know. I think she's the best
Interesting.
as far as painting. So if anyone's interested, I would recommend her for sure.
Very cool. Yeah, you know what's funny is I learned a lot of painting techniques not from wood carving. There's actually a clay sculptor that I follow on YouTube. He goes by Ace of Clay, and he's a polymer clay sculpture artist. And he makes a lot of his these really cool horror designed figures. But his painting techniques are really, really thorough and how he does it. And I think it translates well into wood. So I learned a lot from just watching his content. But wood behaves a little bit different from polymer clay.
There's a lot of good painters that do like miniatures for tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer and things like
Yeah.
that. A lot of those kind of translate to wood also. I think the more you can broaden your horizon will benefit your wood carving, like learning about clay or people that do glass work or metal work, like, or just basic painting, I think. And even if you can go take classes in your area and learn different skills, I think it all will benefit your wood carving. So I think don't just solely focus on wood, like branch out a little bit too. I think there's always benefits to take from other art disciplines also.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's a group in my neighborhood. They're a miniature meetup painting group. They meet once a week or once every couple of weeks at the local art store, and they just sit down and they paint miniatures together.
Yeah.
They don't even play the game. They just sit there and they paint them. Um, and I know a couple of the guys that do it, but I've always wanted to join in and sit with them just to kind of pick up some, painting techniques. But those things are so tiny.
Yeah.
They're little
You have to have a
figurines.
magnifying glass.
Yeah. No, really cool. And I know you don't do much in terms of actual woodworking, but I know you have a bandsaw and a couple other bigger tools. I know they dramatically sped up the process for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, bandsaw was a huge one. Just being able to shape out the basic outline saves a ton of time. There for a while, I was also using a rotary tool. It was kind of like a flex shaft, like a Fordham, but not a Fordham like off-brand. And I used that one for a while. It did speed up the process, but I just got tired of having to go outside and mess with all the dust and the respirator and getting dust in my eyes. And so I don't use that one nearly as much anymore. I found that if you have the right tools, you can do it just as quickly with hand tools than you could with a rotary tool. So right now it's basically just bandsaw and then hand tools. I have a pretty good selection of hand tools that we could talk about if you want to.
yeah, absolutely. Huge tool nerd, just like the
Okay,
rest of
well,
us.
so when I started, like I said, the first set I bought was Beavercraft, and I didn't use that one for long until I ended up going with FlexCut, and then I used nothing but FlexCut for probably 4 years, and I still recommend FlexCut to anyone starting out. They're good entry level tools. They're affordable. You can get them anywhere. Um, And once you've learned what kind of tools you like and what works for you, then you can kind of branch out to more expensive tools. And so just within the last year, I ended up buying some file um, gouges. So the two main ones I use are, well, three of them, I guess. There's the number 7 sweep. So I use this one a lot starting out. It takes off a lot of material quickly. I have the number 15 V tool, which I use a lot, doing, um, a lot of times I'll start out with the V tool and make a line and then set it in deeper with the knife. But I use that one a ton. And then I bought a file, U gouge, which I use not quite as much as the other two, but I still think it's valuable. And then a huge game changer for me recently that I bought was this from Badger State Blades. It's called their
Mm.
eraser, and it's a 2-inch eraser, and this thing is awesome. Like I first get the outline with the bandsaw. This is the first one I use, just taking off a huge amount of material quickly. So this is really why I stopped using the rotary tool, because this thing is just so fast. Then I use a couple different knives. I have two different roughing knives that I use. There's OCC rough out knife and then the Badger State Blades. And I'd say these two are pretty comparable and probably about the same price. Those I use probably 90% of the time. It's just those rough out knives. And then I have another OCC that's a real tiny little guy. And I basically just use
Oh,
this
cool.
one on like the edges of the nose or the mouth or the eyes if I'm doing a face, like real fine details. But that's basically it. I mean, I did buy a pretty good quality, like, grizzly bandsaw, which was, I think, around $500. So that was something that I saved up a couple years for, and then I maybe have, like, $200 worth of hand tools, and that's it. I mean, that's now I'm at the point where that's really all I use.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's all you really need is just a knife, even one knife. But yeah, it's nice that you have a nice big bandsaw. I have one of those tabletop Ryobi bandsaws that
Uh-huh.
I absolutely hate, but it gets the job done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really curious to know what you think about the OCC tool and the Badger State tool because I personally I use a ton of flex cut. I'm lucky enough that I was able to snag a couple of Helvies, which I really love, and I have a big set of file gouges. But yeah, I did order myself a Badger State knife that'll get here whenever it
Yeah.
gets here. I know they have a lengthy a lead time, but yeah, OCC tool has always been something I've been curious about. Just never seem to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, and I think from what I understand, the original founder of the company passed away, and so they weren't making them for a while, but then someone has just recently bought them out. So you're finding them now in a lot more stores online. I don't know if they
Hmm.
have a website where they sell directly, but I think I bought them through a wood carving supplier like Woodcraft or maybe even the Whittling Shack. I can't remember where I got them, but there's a lot more that carry them now. And I love them. I've never had
Yeah.
a problem with them. And I wrote a post about this on Instagram last week, but I prefer the flat grind knives as opposed to like the basic flex cut knife that you get has a bevel on it. And so it kind of
Hmm.
goes down straight and then the last couple millimeters go in. So when you are stropping those, you have to hold them at the correct angle. And I
Yeah.
think that's hard for me and hard for a lot of beginners. And I just was never able to keep them as sharp. But with the flat grind, like you literally just lay that knife perfectly flat on the strop and then it maintains it, because the strap has a little bit of give on it, so you don't have to mess around with getting that correct angle, and I just think that's a huge benefit of the flat grind. And now FlexCut makes their Pro series they came out with are a flat grind also, and so I really like those.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a couple of those as well. Um, yeah, I agree. That's one of the main hangups I had when I was first sharpening or learning to sharpen because I had a flex cut knife and that little micro bevel that they have at the very edge was tripping me up because I
Yeah.
was riding the full flat edge of the knife on the stone and not that little bevel. So
Mhm.
I wasn't, I'm removing a ton of material that wasn't doing anything, wasn't making anything sharp.
Yeah. I ruined,
So
quite a few of
yeah, it
my
got
knives
frustrating.
initially.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that's good about it, even when you ruin them and you finally develop the skill to sharpen them, you can revive them if you take
Yeah.
the time and the effort. Yeah. I've had the worst things for me in the beginning was I've had a few of them snap like the tip.
Mhm.
So I'd had to regrind it and reshape it. And once I did that, they never were the same again. They were never that factory sharp edge
Yeah.
until years later when I honed my skills on that.
I still struggle with is keeping them sharp, so don't get discouraged if you're
Yeah.
just starting out. It takes a long time to develop that skill.
Yeah. And, you said this earlier, what works for others might not work for you. So you eventually develop your own style of how to keep your knives sharp.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what kind of stones you have to sharpen. Um, do you use whetstones?
Yeah, I bought like a diamond plate and I have a whetstone. And honestly, the last time I used them, I wasn't doing it properly and I ruined a couple knives. So I've been scared to get them back out. And I don't know that hopefully won't have to use them on my newer like Badger State and my OCC. I'm hoping I can keep them just using the strop. But yeah, I tried a lot with those, and I could just never quite figure out how to use them. I don't know if I was applying too much pressure, and I don't know what it is, but I think maybe I need
Yeah.
to take a class, like an in-person class with someone to show me how to do it, 'cause that's hard for me to learn just by watching videos. 'Cause,
Yeah.
someone can't they can show you how much pressure to use, but it's hard to get that from a video, so, yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
stay away from those if I can.
Yeah. I've never actually bought any diamond stones. Over the years, I was lucky enough to have people gift me, um, tools and equipment and stuff. Several years ago, um, there was a cabinet shop in my neighborhood that was closing down. The guy was very old and he was just selling off all his tools and equipment and wood. And I got a ton of great stuff. And I actually got some stones. They're unmarked. They're unmarked stones. I have no
Mhm.
idea what they are. Like I have one right here. I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no markings on it. I have no idea what grit it is or
Huh.
um, but it's a great stone. So I used that. I think there was two others I got from him, but the only other stones I bought were these Spyderco ceramic stones. Have you ever seen these?
I haven't.
So they come in different grits. They're ceramic stones. Um, they have three different styles. They have like a coarse, medium, and fine, or extra fine, or something like that. And I found that they work really well. You never need to flatten them like some of the other whetstones.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've had good results with those. I think at times they're a little bit too fine and
Yeah.
they won't remove a ton of material. But that first stone I showed you, the unmarked stone, that one removes quite a bit of material. That actually gets the blade really sharp. Um, but if I want it polished, I use those Spyderco stones.
Okay. And would you just get those on
Yeah.
Amazon?
Yeah, I got them on Amazon. I mean, the reason I got those was because the first job I ever had in a wood shop, there was a finisher there who he really knew everything. He wasn't just a finisher. He knew woodworking. He knew how to finish. He knew how to sharpen. He knew everything. I learned a ton of great, valuable information from him. Really great guy and very generous with willing to share. And he had one of those Spyderco stones, and he really hyped it up. And I think I got one because he was kind of like the first person in a professional environment that kind of took me under his wing and kind of mentored me a little bit. So I really took everything he said at an extremely high value. And yeah, I love the stone. I don't know if it's because of that connection I made with him. Um, and I've had it for maybe 10 years at this point.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, it's nice to have someone like that in person to teach you things.
yeah, yeah, he was a really nice guy, and I learned a ton of stuff. I learned how to sharpen card scrapers and chisels and everything. I learned a lot of great finishing techniques and sanding techniques. Yeah.
I wanted to show one of my first carvings again. This is the first Santa I ever did.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah,
then
you've come
compare
leaps and
that to
bounds.
my most recent Santa. So I think
That's
keeping
amazing.
keeping your first carvings is very valuable, because when you carve day to day, it's hard to see those improvements. But if you keep some carvings from when you started, and then maybe once a year keep a carving just to see that progress, I think it's really valuable to see that in person, because sometimes, like I said, you forget. You feel like you might not be progressing, but then when you look back to where you started, I think you can really see it. So
Yeah, it's hard to see the progression as you're going because you
yeah.
don't you don't see it. It's like watching your kid grow up. You
Yeah.
don't see the change until you go back and look at the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have my first wood spirit. Where is it? Let's see if I can grab it.
Yeah.
There's no depth to it. It's just,
Yeah.
and it probably took me 10 hours to do,
Yeah.
I sanded it. I spent so much time and effort on it. Is there a date on? No. I did name it though. I named it Walter.
Walter. Walter White.
Name on the bottom. Walter the Wood Spirit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's important for people starting out to know you really don't need a lot, you know. You can do
Oh yeah.
a lot,
It's
just with one
relatively
knife.
cheap hobby.
Yeah. And portable too. Like if you don't have room inside, maybe you could take a knife, like cover it up, but you could take a knife to a park or, somewhere outside and just carve on a block of wood. Like it's really portable, really accessible. So you don't need a whole lot starting out. And I've had people ask
Yeah.
about a bandsaw, and I'll ask them like, "Well, how long have you been carving?" Because I think you should make sure it's something you really enjoy and you want to continue doing before you invest a lot of money into something like a bandsaw. So
Yeah. And there's other options. I mean, you can always buy those rough out carvings
yeah,
to kind of help you get a leg up. Um, yeah, so there's definitely a ton of options. The bandsaw is nice to have though.
yeah,
Cody, I just want to say thank you, not only for being the very first guest on the Modern Woodcarver podcast, which truly means a lot to me, but for the years of friendship, support, and inspiration along the way. I've always admired your consistency, your creativity, and your willingness to keep pushing yourself to create new and exciting things. Watching your journey over the years has been inspiring, and I'm grateful we're able to share part of that story here today. I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. And to everyone listening, if you don't already, make sure you go check out Cody online at Block and Knife and show him some support. Cody, thank you again. I appreciate you coming on.
thank you, Michael. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Glad we could do it. Oh, one last thing. Where can people find your work?
It's Block and Knife Crafts on Instagram, Facebook are the ones I use primarily. And then if you're on those, you can find my link to my Etsy, but Etsy's Block and Knife Crafts as well. Um, yeah, Instagram's the main one. Everything that I post to Instagram gets posted on Facebook as well. So I'm gonna start putting
Okay.
out hopefully some more tutorial type videos, introduction videos just for beginners and anyone that's interested in wood carving.
Yeah. Awesome. Look forward to it. And I'll definitely link all your socials in the description of the podcast and everywhere else.